Well, first off, I want to, wish the Pima Community College girls basketball team, assistant coach by Arizona legend Jim Rosborough, good luck in their national championship game here. Coming up in I think like an hour, and Coach Roz is going to retire, and he was a great, servant to Arizona basketball. Kind of being Lute Olson's right hand guy for a lot of years, and this is kind of his last year in it. So let's send him out on top.
This is Jason Walker with Cache Valley Daily in Logan. How important is it for you guys to be able to push the pace against Utah State, where their defense has sometimes been night and day versus when they get set in the half court versus when they're having to run in transition with the other team?
Man, I don't feel like it's a Utah State thing in particular. I think anytime you can push the pace, before teams have set their base defense, it's going to give you advantages. And so, the number one thing is, taking care of the basketball, being able to rebound the basketball. That'll allow you to do to push the pace. But I don't think we're going to look to push the pace any more than we normally would,
Jason Shear, Wildcat Authority. Tommy, kind of a two-parter. Have you basically seen every type of defense this season? And then what is the difficulties or challenges of maybe facing a matchup zone that you could see tomorrow?
Yeah, you've seen a lot of defenses. I don't know if we've seen one in particular quite like this. I mean, conceptually, there could be some similarities. And, I think what they've done a really good job of is, being able to change defenses, and being able to mix in some presses and, to kind of get you out of your rhythm a little bit. They do a great job of that. And to me, we're going to have to get out there and get a feel for it on the court tomorrow. On how we can get comfortable moving the ball and moving our bodies and playing against it. And obviously it's got our full attention.
Jesus Garcia, KCR Radio, SDSU. You've kind of already touched on this a little bit, but this is a Utah State team that isn't your typical 9 seed. They're top 25 in adjusted offensive efficiency per Martovic. I just want to get your initial thoughts on Coach Calhoun's offense and how they may impose problems on your defense.
Yeah, I mean, they've done a great job, and listen, I would say this with the utmost respect. I mean, I don't know if they're, I'm not an expert at where people should be seated. But from my experience, I mean, no matter who in that 8-9 game is, it's always a tough game. You're playing a really good program, and, they happened to win their conference regular season and their conference tournament. So, I'm sure they have a gripe. For me, I don't really get caught up on that stuff. I knew whoever we would be playing in the second round that they were going to be a great program. And then you're right, offensively, that they've got a really creative system. It's based on a lot of player movement, and they have multiple options within it, there's a lot of people that are, doing dribble drive stuff or ball screen centric. And, they're a team that's kind of breaking the mold, and they're doing a great job with their off-ball actions and in multiple screening actions. And then they do a really good job running that. But they also have players that are good, and opportunistic in the ball screen opportunities they have. So, yeah, definitely a unique system, and it's going to present a lot of challenges.
Gabby Chernoff, Cronkite News. Can you just take us through what last night, today, and the rest of today will look like trying to prepare your guys, and then what the biggest point of emphasis going into tomorrow is?
Yeah, I mean, obviously after the game, we'll go back to the hotel last night and, I'm sure the guys had a meal and started some recovery. And, we met a couple times with the players yesterday kind of to lay out today and what it was going to look like and, obviously do some introductory scouting stuff. And then today, we, have breakfast and you have a film session. You come practice, and then, this evening we'll go back. I'm sure we'll have another film session. The guys will go to a good dinner and obviously we'll try to continue to build the game plan and the scouting report throughout the day. So, for us, it's kind of a normal, we're treating it like as a normal day, a day before the game type stuff, but day before the game on the road kind of vibe, and that's how we're treating it.
Yeah, Steve Rivera, All Sports Tucson. Tommy, if you can talk about Yvon and what he means to the team, and I'll have a follow-up.
Yeah, I mean, Yvon's obviously been a real impact player for us, all season long. It seems like he's finding his rhythm, on offense a little bit more and finding ways to put up consistent numbers on a nightly basis, which has been really helpful. We knew we were getting Yvon, that he was going to be a good player, and, I'm glad to see him having so much success.
And he's so good with basketball smarts, but could you talk about his instincts? Because sometimes you don't learn instinct, you just have them.
Yeah, well, I think instincts are learned. You know what I mean? And you know, but when did you learn them? You know, how galvanized are they within you as a player? Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing for me is he's fearless. He's fearless, and he has a high IQ, and he's able in the moment to kind of utilize those two attributes. And those are great attributes to have for a basketball player, to not be afraid of the moment and to know what's going on. I mean, I think there's a lot of value in that.
Tommy, Jay Posner with the Union Tribune in San Diego. Coach Willard talked yesterday about he didn't think Drake Allen got enough credit for how important he is to that team. What have you seen from him watching Utah State, and what do you think about his value?
I see a really good player that understands his contributions to the team. You know, he may not have the standout stats, you know, or get some of the attention those other guys get, but his impact on that team and how they run their stuff and how they really play at both ends of the floor is really important. I mean, he's had a great season for them. You know, his experience shows on the floor. It looks like to me he's all about winning. So I mean, obviously, you know, he's getting some recognition now that's probably well deserved.
Tell me back here. Damian Alameda, 13 News. What has it been like having Liam on staff?
It's been great. You know, I mean, I don't know. We might have to rethink the adjoining rooms with the grandkids in the next room over. You know what I mean? I'm joking there. It's been a lot of fun. It's just a lot of fun to have our family together, you know, and obviously, you know, Liam's my son, and, you know, we have a strong relationship, and basketball's been a part of our relationships, you know, ever since I can remember. So it's fun to watch him grow up as a young man. It's fun to watch him start his family. It's fun for my wife and I to be a part of it, and it's been fun to watch him grow kind of professionally as a coach. And, you know, I think he's got a lot of potential in this business, and, you know, but like anybody else, he's going to have to earn his keep and build, you know, day by day.
Coach, right here, Braden said he's not the nervous type. What do you make of his just demeanor and the fact that he's not the nervous type before big games?
Yeah, I mean, if you guys had the privilege of getting to know Braden a little bit, I mean, I think that would make a lot of sense to you. You know, he's a pretty laid-back guy, but he's focused. He's very focused. I mean, he's a guy that, you know, definitely has a routine built around the game of basketball, and, you know, he kind of builds his life around the game of basketball. So I think he's someone that puts a lot of trust in the work he does, and he's not afraid of the moment, and he has, you know, elite confidence. I think he has elite confidence in himself as a player and as a person, and it's really cool to see a young guy be able to do that without being arrogant, you know, and he's definitely a special one, and, you know, how he played yesterday didn't surprise me at all.
Chris Brown, AZ Bandcat Sports. There's just a calmness and a collectiveness that you and the rest of the staff have on the bench and on the sideline. How do you think that translates to the rest of the team and how they play? Well, and then I'll have a follow-up too.
I think it's simple. If you want your team to be poised, I mean, I think as a coach you need to be poised. You know, if you want your team to be prepared, you know, you need to be prepared. So for me, I don't really complicate it. You know, I mean, I'm you know, I'm not trying to make them into me, but hopefully, you know, just us being steady and not panicking, you know, is comfort for the players, and they understand we got a job to do, and it might not always be perfect. And then the last thing, you know, if you want your team to be solution oriented, you know, you better be solution oriented as a coach. So, you know, that's kind of the, I guess, for lack of a better word, the A equals B algebra that I use, you know, with how I want my team to play on the court. I mean, if I want them to do certain things, I feel like I got to be able to model that behavior myself.
And then just in terms of team chemistry, cohesion, you know, just how does this compare to maybe other teams or groups that you've led? It feels like they're so close-knit and just understand each other so well.
Well, you know, I'm not great at comparing one team to the next, because I think we all have this thing called recency bias. And yeah, this group really does get along. You know, I feel like our other teams have had a lot of that as well. You know, we've never, you know, claimed to be perfect, but by any stretch. But this is a group. You know, we work hard on our culture, and it's a daily thing you got to fight for, and you're going to have little ups and downs with it because we're all human beings. But if you can work hard to get people on the same page and get them to care for each other, I think that goes a long way to creating a healthy environment.
Tommy, David Kelly, Wildcats Radio 1290. I got in a little after the start, so I apologize if somebody may have already asked this. But Jared Calhoun, after the game the other day, said that he really enjoys watching your team, and he doesn't necessarily like watching a lot of other teams. What does that mean to you to hear another coach say that? And what do you think maybe other coaches see when they watch your team?
Well, I don't want to speak for other coaches. I mean, for me, hopefully, our team has an identity. That when you sit down and study them, you can see the things that we value as a program, and those things stand out. I mean, that would mean a lot to me. I'm not trying to be a X and O guru or anything like that, but I do love the game of basketball. I love learning. I think I learn every day on this job. Not just on the human side, how you treat people, but a little bit the science side. The game of basketball, I think is fascinating, and how it's constantly evolving and changing. But that being said, there's the same as ever factor. A lot of the things that are driving winning today were driving things 26, 27 years ago when I was starting in this business. So I love that aspect to it, and I appreciate Jared saying that. And to be honest, I haven't watched them play much till this preparation, and I've been impressed. I mean, you can tell there's been a lot of thought put into what they do, and they get their guys to play with confidence and freedom within a structure and a framework that's really effective.
Coach Kyle Kenson with Field Level Media. Krivas yesterday had that behind-the-back bounce pass. Asked him a little bit about it, brought up Arvydas Sabonis. Said, that's the king who everybody in Lithuania kind of wants to be. You obviously coached Arvydas' son. How have you seen that sort of big man style kind of evolve kind of as a direct result of that Lithuanian style of play?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Lithuania has had a proud tradition of bigs with the Sabonis brothers and Valanciunas. I mean, Sabonis family, not the brothers, but with Domas and his dad, Arvydas being just two legends of the game, and then Valanciunas, another great big. But another name that I think that really had an impact on Big Mo was Shimmick Karnofsky. Shimmick was on our staff the last couple of years, and I mean, if you guys remember him, we could always post him up on the right block, and he loved throwing that left-handed behind-the-back pass. So when I saw him throw that pass, that's the first, place my mind went. But, even it's funny before the game that I was talking with Rod. Rod played with the Blazers with Arvydas, and I don't think he had quite known my connection to the family. When I told him, I'm really close to the Sabonis family, he was like, man, Arvydas was such a great player, and I'm sure when Rod saw him throw the behind-the-back pass, his mind went there as well, and it was just a great play by Mo at that time. And I think kind of the second half of the year, he's really grown and kind of offensively for us, where we can just kind of pop the ball to him in the post and kind of play through him, and force the defense to kind of, see something different once in a while. And he's done a great job. And I'm really proud of Mo. He's really grown as a player this season. And the exciting thing, for me is I think there's still room to grow. I think there's a lot of growth to be had there.
Scott Gerard, KSL Sports Zone in Salt Lake City. A lot has been made about your freshmen, but when you're developing culture, is it sometimes easier to have freshmen that don't know any better come into a culture as opposed to guys that may have done it somewhere else?
I don't think so. I think it goes to, the character of the person coming in the program, and that's one of the things with recruiting I think you got to do a great job of, I work on the simple continuum all the time, talent versus dysfunction. And I don't want to be in charge of a program where I'm just trying to accrue as much talent as I can to overcome the dysfunction that comes with the talent. I would rather let's really attack limiting dysfunction. There's always going to be some because we are humans. So if we can drill down and limit dysfunction and then get talented people that don't have much dysfunction, man, I think that's the winning formula. So to me, that's more important than the age. But and even in our transfers, Jaden, transferred, Tobe transferred, Deli transferred, and those are just great guys. They're just great guys that have wanted to be part of something bigger than themselves. And then the freshmen are obviously really talented, and they're going to have great futures, but they're also great teammates. So to me, it was just a good blend of guys that were about the right things, and we were able to kind of put them all together. I don't think we had to necessarily, reteach them how to operate or function within a team. We just had to get them all together and then create a culture, for lack of a better word, that allowed them to flourish.
Any other questions? One in the front.
Yeah, Tommy, Patino a couple days ago talked about the age of college basketball and the last 3 years being just almost the golden age. He probably didn't say golden age, but it's been fantastic. Would you agree with that, maybe given all the transfers, and it's just gotten better in the last 3 years?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think the game's continuing to evolve and improve, and I think one of the things that the rev share and NIL stuff is allowed for is some of these guys to stay in college longer. With them kind of resetting how they're evaluating international players has allowed better players to come over and participate in college basketball. I think in the next 3 to 5 years, I mean, college basketball is gonna hit the golden age where not only are freshmen making an impact, but guys that are kind of borderline NBA players are going to stay in college longer, and it's going to make I think eventually we are going to have good continuity within our rosters. All this thing's going to kind of get figured out, and the transfer portal will settle down. I mean, that's my hopes and dreams. But again, I'm not going to overthink it. I mean, tell me what the rules are, and we'll figure out how to operate within them. I mean, that's always been our mindset. I don't spend a lot of time trying to be the lawmaker. I just want to abide by the laws in place and do the best job I can, for the program I'm involved with.
Final question over here.
Tommy, David Kelly, Wildcats Radio 1290 again. When you shouted out the student media the other day, I was curious. Had you heard what Phil Martelli had said? Did that kind of prompt that, or was that spontaneous?
I mean, that was spontaneous. I mean, you guys, to be honest, once this tournament's going, I really don't follow it as close. You guys follow it way more closely than I do. I mean, there might be a game on TV in the hotel room as preparing our team, but I don't sit back and get immersed in the tournament madness. I'm focused on playing a good Utah State team tomorrow, and I don't have the bandwidth to take everything in. So I don't even know what Phil said. But when I saw those three kids asking questions, I'm like, good for them. I mean, that's a great experience for them, and listen. I could make some jokes about the media today, but I won't, because you guys are all great, and I don't mind you guys at all. But it's good to see some young people participate and learn how this thing's done.